What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today we're going to be talking about how the New Orleans Pelicans may have found themselves another gem, and we're going to jump right into the video. Now, we look back at the 2021 NBA draft. The New Orleans Pelicans found themselves a very rare gem, and that was Herb Jones. The Pelicans selected him in the second round, and after watching him for the entire season in the playoffs, it was very clear that Herb Jones should have been a top 10 draft pick. He was one of the best defenders in the NBA last season as a rookie, and he just displayed the ability to be able to guard 1 through 5, and then also giving some of the best players in the NBA a very hard time. And then looking at what he did in the playoffs, he just showed how much of a NBA ready defender that he was. He made minimal mistakes against a well-seasoned vet in Chris Paul, and I thought he made both CP3 and Devin Booker work for all their buckets. So I like what I saw from Herb Jones, and I definitely think he was the biggest steal of last year's draft. Now we look at what the Pelicans are doing this year, the 2022 draft. Things are a little bit different. Now this gem, he wasn't selected in the draft, but he was signed to the New Orleans Pelicans Summer League team, and that guy's name is John Butler. Now, John Butler is a center from Florida State University, and he has potential written all over him. He played 1 year at FSU, which was his freshman year. He started off the season coming off the bench, but within a few games, he earned the rights to be a starter, but he still played limited minutes. He played 19 minutes per game, which is why he didn't have eye-popping numbers at the collegiate level. He averaged 6 points per game to go along with 3 rebounds and 1.2 blocks. But it's what you saw in those 19 minutes that make John Butler very intriguing as a basketball player, and why a lot of people think he is filled with potential. And we look at his physical attributes, he stands at 7'1", and then he has some great length as he has a 7'3" wingspan, and he does weigh 174 pounds, which is concerning for the center position. Just to put into perspective how light he is, there's a number of point guards that we can name that weighs more than the 7-footer, but nonetheless, he is very versatile on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And we look at his offensive game, I really think he has the ability to translate perfectly to a modern day NBA big, a big that can stretch the floor and do multiple things with the basketball. We look at John Butler at the collegiate level at FSU. He shot the 3-ball at a very high clip. He shot at 39%, which is pretty good for a guy his size. And looking at his form is just very pretty. He gets wide feet on his base. He gets the ball up at a very high point. And then his shot mechanics are just very pretty. And he has a nice form for a guy his size. And then also with the ability that he has to shoot the 3-ball, he sees a lot of closeouts, and I think it's very important for him to have a counter to that, and he does. He's a skilled big, and he has the ability to put the ball on the floor. And something I've seen him do a bunch of times is pump fake, one dribble into a pull-up, which is a very fundamental basketball move, and he has it in his bag. And then he can also do a lot of different things with the basketball. In college, seen him come off the pick and roll a few times to get into a pull-up jumper. Then also he can play without the ball. We know he can knock down, catch and shoot threes, but he also does a great job at cutting and finishing around the rim, and he can catch lobs, and he runs the floor hard in transition. So he really doesn't have no traditional big in him. He doesn't play in the post that much. He's really more of a modern day big that can stretch the floor. Now we look at John Butler defensively, and this is where he has me the most intrigued. Now he stands at 7'1" with a 7'3" wingspan, so it's a no-brainer that he excels at protecting the rim and blocking shots. And even standing at 174 pounds, he did a great job at holding his own and still holding down the paint. But what makes him so special on the defensive side of the ball, and when you look at what he can do as a perimeter defender, and we look at the history of basketball and the history of the NBA, 7-footers usually have a really tough time guarding guys on the perimeter, but that is not the case for John Butler. Watching him at Florida State, his team liked to run the full court press a lot, and one way teams try to beat the press, they might try to have the center set a screen in the backcourt, and when teams did that to Florida State, they usually switched, and John Butler was switching going to a smaller guard, and he did a great job at this. He was quick enough, he was nimble enough on his feet, and he had enough lateral quickness to hang with smaller guards, and he usually forced them into some tough situations. So you get a 7-footer with that can protect the rim while also being able to switch onto smaller players. That's just a very rare thing you see in the NBA. So I think John Butler, he has a lot of skill on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. Now, when the season ended for John Butler in Florida State University, he decided to declare for the NBA draft. And even though a lot of people thought he was filled with potential, they still thought it was way too soon for him to enter the NBA draft. And he did end up going undrafted, which is what led to him being signed by the New Orleans Pelicans Summer League team. And in the final game of Summer League, John Butler put himself on everyone's radar. In that final game, he went for 25 points. And what made it so impressive is that he only needed 9 shots to get those 25 points, and he didn't miss a single shot from the field. He went 9 for 9 and then 6 for 6 from the three-point line. Now, 6 threes from a 7-footer is very impressive at any level of basketball, and in this game he showed to us exactly what he was flashing at FSU. He showed the ability to stretch the floor. He knocked down those threes from almost everywhere on the court. He hit it from the corner, the top of the key, he hit it from the wing, and then also he hit them when he was wide open and also when there was a hand in his face. And then he also showcased the ability to put the ball on the floor and attack that closeout when defenders were coming too strong. He showed that he had the punk fake one dribble pull up to his game, and I think that's a very fundamental skill in basketball. And then he also got a nice backdoor cut for a dunk. So the skill set is there for John Butler. Now, what I think is stopping John Butler from getting an NBA contract is his frame. He needs to add some more weight. He stands at 174 pounds, and that is way too low for the center position. And like we established, we can list some NBA point guards that weigh more than John Butler. But other than that, I really love his skill set on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And I really hope the Pelicans decide to sign him to a 2-way contract and attempt to develop him. Could you imagine if they do end up adding some weight to his frame and developing his game a little bit more, and add him to guys like Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram? Adding a unicorn to 2 guys as skilled as them would be some really fun basketball to watch. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below what you think about John Butler, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.